My sister's outburst caused my parents to postpone my 18th birthday, so I discreetly walked away and watched their idyllic life unravel without me. This is a lengthy story, but I felt compelled to relate the satisfying conclusion that occurred last month. This is going to become quite dark, so be warned, but my family was prepared. I apologize for any grammatical errors as well. Even after 2 years, I'm still rather emotional about all of this. Although I am now a 20-something man, this story began 2 years ago when I turned 18. Since birth, my sister Chloe, who is 24F, has been the family's golden child. The kind of princess syndrome that causes others to gawk at her when she has grown-up tantrums is what we're talking about here. Our father, Kenneth, runs a medium-sized construction business that specializes in custom houses, and we grew up in the Phoenix suburbs. And Mom, Linda, is a real estate representative for one of those upscale companies that sells million-dollar homes to retirees and IT execs. Together, they earn about $220,000 annually. With a large home in a gated community, a backyard pool, a two-car garage, and the whole Arizona dream, we were firmly upper middle class. It ought to have been sufficient for both children to lead fulfilling lives. False. Chloe discovered early on that she could get anything she wanted by crying and throwing fits. I'm referring to complete meltdowns that would cause a toddler to feel envious, threatening to harm herself if she didn't get her way. She threw herself to the ground and screamed till her cheeks flushed. The pattern was established by the time I was old enough to comprehend what was going on. For her 16th birthday, she received a brand new BMW, which was shiny white and with custom rims, costing more than most people's cars. Dad's old work truck, which had 200,000 miles on it, rust stains, and a radio that only played AM stations, was given to me. It was a stark difference. I worked 25 hours a week at a local gym to pay for school supplies, clothes, and gas, while she received a $3,200 monthly allowance from her 6 years of intermittent college attendance. Mom and Dad spent $8,000 on beautiful furnishings from a Scottsdale boutique when Chloe wanted to renovate her room for the third time in 2 years. They advised me to develop financial responsibility when I sought for assistance purchasing textbooks for my AP classes. Her sorority sisters didn't hesitate to pay the full $6,000 when she wanted to spend a month in Europe. They told me that the family budget was limited that month when I wanted to go to a $400 leadership camp. The instances were exasperating and interminable. During her junior year, Chloe was texting and driving when she crashed her BMW. Accidents happen, Dad said, and he purchased her an even newer model. I was given a speeding citation for exceeding the speed limit in a school zone. I had to pay the fine myself and was grounded for a month. She needs costly coaching after failing organic chemistry twice. No issue. The best tutor money could buy was employed by them. I required assistance with calculus. You have to figure things out for yourself. You're intelligent enough. But here's the deal. In reality, I kept the family together while she wreaked havoc. I kept up a 3.9 GPA, worked part-time, volunteered at the animal shelter, tutored younger children for free, and took care of the majority of the household chores that grown-ups should have been doing while Chloe partied, skipped courses, and treated college like a long vacation. While Mom was busy showing clients, I was the one who remembered to pay the water bill. When Dad's back started to hurt after working long days on construction sites, I was the one who picked up his dry cleaning. I was in charge of meal planning, grocery shopping, and making sure there was food for family dinners. I was the one who actually and symbolically cleaned up Chloe's mess. All of this was justified by my parents, who said that Chloe required more help because she was still figuring herself out and was more sensitive. I, on the other hand, was inherently responsible and required less care because I was old enough to manage things on my own. Instead of giving me more respect and encouragement, they made my skill and dependability seem like excuses to treat me with less consideration. Each time I was successful, they behaved as though it were normal. Each time Chloe failed, they pretended it was a disaster that needed to be handled with the help of the whole family. The worst thing was how they gave Chloe all the credit for any achievement in the end while using me to solve her problems. I spent the entire weekend assisting Dad in evaluating the damage, looking up new parts and negotiating with insurance companies when she smashed her BMW during her junior year. I'd spent months educating her through fundamental principles she should have acquired in high school when she eventually passed organic chemistry on her third try. I had to bring her up from jail at 3 in the morning after she was jailed for underage drinking at a fraternity party, because the parents were too emotionally spent and disappointed to handle it. However, who received all the accolades when Chloe finally graduated from community college 2 years late. She did. As Mom used to remark, "We're so proud of how you overcame your challenges." In the meantime, I was seen as the family's unpaid intern, necessary to keep everything going but unappreciated or unnoticed. I kept telling myself that when I became 18, things would be different. I would finally be considered an adult by law. Lastly, they would need to treat me like a member of the family. At last, I would receive some acknowledgement for everything that I had done to keep this family running smoothly while they gave their whole attention to their troublesome golden kid. I was completely mistaken about how that would turn out. I will soon turn 18, which was 2 years ago. This was meant to be enormous. I will graduate from high school in a few months, become a legal adult, and be accepted to Arizona State early with partial scholarships based on my extracurricular activities and GPA. I had practically been anticipating this birthday for years. I wanted to be the focus of attention for once, but in a good way. I was being praised for who I was and what I had achieved, not because I was solving someone else's problem or masking dysfunction in the family. I requested permission from my parents to have a lovely party. Just relatives and a few acquaintances from work and school, maybe 25 to 30 people in total. Nothing extravagant or costly. We could have a genuine celebration in our garden, grill some food, and play some music. I even offered to use money I had saved from my job to help pay for it. Both parents were sincere in their enthusiasm for the concept. Our baby's becoming a man, Mom would frequently tell her friends and clients. Dad even thought it would be nostalgic and fun to rent one of those inflatable obstacle courses. We arranged an entire menu of grilled burgers, hot dogs, and sides, ordered a custom cake from the upscale downtown bakery, and sent out formal invites 3 weeks in advance. Mom even assisted me in making a music mix that would be suitable for a variety of age groups. Everyone who was important to me was invited. My favorite instructor, who had written recommendation letters and had faith in me when others did not, my best friend Marcus, my girlfriend Sarah, my wrestling teammates, and the people I worked with at the gym. Even my employer, who had served as a father figure and guide. I was going to use this as my chance to prove to everyone that the quiet, responsible child had succeeded. I was prepared to begin my adult life on a firm foundation after being accepted to a reputable university, receiving scholarship money, and maintaining relationships with admirable individuals. Then Chloe's vacation to Cancun for spring break was canceled precisely 3 days prior to the celebration. She and her college pals had been organizing this trip for months. She spent a week at a posh resort with $400 per night suites, attended nightly parties at clubs by the beach, had professional photographers take her Instagram photos, and pursued the entire influencer lifestyle. Her part of the resort, flights, and spending money had already cost Dad $4,500. She had spent weeks purchasing new designer baggage, getting a spray tan, and searching for the ideal bikinis. However, there was a lot of drama among her friends that I never really understood. The trip was abruptly canceled, deposits were forfeited, and Chloe found herself stranded at home over her spring break with nothing to do. She was going completely crazy when she got home on Friday afternoon. I'm referring to a complete nuclear meltdown, complete with sobbing, yelling, hurling objects in her room, slamming doors, and the whole thing. When she eventually passed her classes that semester, she had been looking forward to this trip as a reward. My parents instantly into full crisis mode. To console her, Mom called in ill to work, which resulted in the cancellation of 3 client meetings and the possible loss of commissions. Dad called off his poker night with his friends and his golf outing for the weekend. They went to the pricey restaurant across town and got her favorite Thai food. Used those expensive bath bombs she loves to give her a bubble bath. Even made an emergency appointment with her therapist over the phone. Instead of letting her miss a vacation that most people could never afford in the first place, they essentially treated her as though she were mourning a death. I'm in the kitchen at 7 in the morning on Saturday, fewer than 24 hours before my party. When Chloe arrives downstairs in her silk pajamas, her eyes still puffy and red from her continuous drama festival, she's assisting with meal preparation and decor setup. She declared, "I can't handle having a party here tomorrow," as if she were giving a medical diagnosis. At the moment, I'm too emotionally fragile. My emotional recovery will be hampered by the commotion and the presence of so many people, which will make me anxious about the journey. My stomach fell to the ground. It's my birthday party, Britney. This has been in the works for weeks. People have already made plans to attend. She added, "I know, and I'm sorry about the timing," as new tears began to fall. However, I'm currently going through a pretty horrible experience. In order for me to process my feelings around this disappointment, I need the house to be quiet and serene. It would be incredibly disrespectful to my current emotional state to have a celebration. Mom nodded instantly, like if Chloe was making perfect sense. She's right. Your sister's going through a lot of rejection and sadness right now, honey. Her confidence has been severely damaged by the Cancun incident. What I was hearing was unbelievable. It's my 18th birthday, Mom. This is a significant turning point. People are already anticipating their arrival. I invited Sarah's parents, my boss, and my teacher. Chloe used her trump card at that point. You would wait until I'm feeling better if you truly cared about me as your sister. Families should help one another during tough times rather than making matters worse by acting selfishly. During this discussion, Dad entered the kitchen and instantly took her side without even listening to my side of the argument. Your sister is in need of us now, son. You're capable of taking a minor setback. Her physique differs from yours. However, everyone anticipates celebrating tomorrow, Dad. This has been weeks in the making. I prepared the entire menu, purchased decorations, and ordered cake. He firmly stated, we'll reschedule for next weekend, mentally shifting to the next subject. Family comes first, and at this moment, your sister is more in need of our help than you are of a celebration. There will be many more birthdays for you. My milestone birthday was casually dismissed, and I felt as though I had been physically punched in the stomach. There was more to this than the cancellation of a party. For over 18 years, I was treated as though my needs, emotions, and achievements were unimportant. I spent the remainder of Saturday making awkward phone calls to cancel everything whenever Chloe experienced any kind of issue or inconvenience. My girlfriend was upset and perplexed that I would cancel at the last minute. Some of my pals already had plans for the next weekend, so they were sad. My teacher inquired about my well-being at home and appeared genuinely worried about me. Although he was kind, my supervisor obviously found it strange that I would call off my own birthday celebration. I couldn't admit that my own family had canceled my birthday celebration to accommodate my sister's trip turmoil, so I had to tell everyone I was unexpectedly unwell. It was an intolerable shame. Chloe, meanwhile, posted depressing Instagram stories about overcoming life setbacks and discovering serenity in unforeseen changes while spending the entire day relaxing by the pool in a designer bikini. Instead of processing emotional trauma, she appeared to be enjoying a spa day. On what should have been the eve of my major celebration, I sat by myself in my room that night and made a decision that would alter the course of my life. I had had enough of serving as this family's unpaid maintenance worker, emotional support system, and problem solver. My family gave me zero recognition when I woke up the following morning, which was my actual 18th birthday. No gifts, no special breakfast, no happy birthday greetings, and no acknowledgement that this Sunday was unique. When it came to my birthday, Sunday was seemingly just another work day. So Dad was already at a construction site, and Mom was too busy making Chloe her favorite protein smoothie with pricey organic ingredients. Even though I was now officially an adult and being treated like an invisible child, the house felt exactly the same as it had every other day. Chloe actually had the gall to remark at lunchtime that my quiet and aloof demeanor was depressing the atmosphere. She responded, "It's not my fault your party got canceled," while she ate the elegant brunch her mother had made for her and browsed through her phone. You don't need to vent your negative emotions on other people. A few of us are coping with actual issues. I had a basic awakening at that point. I became aware that I had choices that I had never given any thought to before. I was now 18, a legal adult with rights and liberties. After working at the gym for 2 years, I had saved money. In fact, I had pals whose family respected and valued me. Most significantly, I had the grades, financial aid, and college acceptance necessary to start a life apart from these obviously unappreciative and unvalued individuals. From my room, I began making calculated phone calls. I called my wrestling coach first. I knew his family had an empty room because their oldest son had gone off to college, and they had always been nice to me. They volunteered to let me remain with them for as long as I needed to after I gave them a general explanation of the issue. His wife remarked, "You're like a son to us anyway," as she answered the phone. "We'd be honored to have you here during your senior year." Second, I made a call to my gym employer. He had been pushing me to work longer hours and had even indicated that he required trustworthy assistance at his other facility across town. He claimed he could start me working 25 hours a week right away when I inquired about the potential of full-time employment. "You're the most responsible kid I've ever hired," he said to me. "If you need more income for independence, I've got opportunities for you." Third, I dialed the home number of my school counselor. When I informed her what had happened, she was astonished and promised to help me find out how to continue my senior year while living on my own. "What your parents did was completely inappropriate," she stated. "An 18th birthday is a major milestone, and canceling it for the reasons you described shows a serious problem with family priorities." I had a thorough plan for independence by Sunday night. On the surface, I was perfectly normal for the next week. As if nothing had changed, I went to school, worked my regular shifts at the gym, and took care of my regular household duties. My parents were pleased that I was managing disappointment in a responsible manner and felt that my attitude had changed. They were unaware that I was stealthily packing up my valuables and leaving the house. A few things to my coach's house every day. Everything that truly mattered to me, including my most valuable papers, devices, best clothes, books, and wrestling trophies. I also stopped taking care of all the small tasks that kept the house in order. Dad wasn't informed of the approaching bill due dates. Didn't update Mom's calendar or arrange her client paperwork. Neglected to tidy up sporadic clutter about the house. Didn't prepare a meal or go grocery shopping. I completed the work the following Saturday, precisely 1 week after my postponed birthday. I waited till Chloe was in the mall spending money she didn't make and both parents were gone. I gradually emptied my room of anything that was mine by packing the remainder of my possessions into boxes and garbage bags. I placed my house key and a message on my bed. This family doesn't appear to care about my wants, feelings, or milestones. Therefore, I've made the decision to go somewhere where they do. If you're not prepared to truly apologize and change the way you treat me, don't get in touch with me. I'll graduate from high school and begin my adult life surrounded by individuals who genuinely respect and value me. This is neither a phase nor a tantrum. This is my decision to be in the company of individuals that value me. Knowing that I would never live in the house again, I packed everything into my old truck, took one last glance, and drove away. I had lived there for 18 years. There was an incredible sense of relief and liberation right away. I was making a big decision for the first time in my life that was solely based on what I wanted, not what was most practical for other people. Guys, take a moment. This new hype function was just released by YouTube. Press the hype button if this story has captured your attention. It informs YouTube that this video is worthy of going viral and keeps you inundated with other more bizarre stories. I sincerely appreciate your support. Okay, let's get back to the drama. It was like entering a different reality where kids were genuinely respected, cherished, and supported while I lived with my coach's family. Instead of treating me like unpaid domestic assistants, they treated me like a treasured family member, inquired about my day, and celebrated my presence. I felt as though I was living with folks who truly wanted me there for the first time in my life. In the meantime, without me to keep everything together, my first family was disintegrating, and it was exciting to watch the process come to fruition. In a few days, the first indications emerged. The majority of the administrative duties that kept the home running had been handled by me. Meal planning, food shopping, appointment scheduling, bill reminders, and basic organization. As the family's unpaid personal assistant, things quickly began to fall between the cracks without me there. Mom lost a significant client because she forgot about an important deadline that I would have typically monitored for her. They missed their mortgage payment, and they received late penalties on several credit cards within 3 weeks of my absence. But Chloe was the true source of instability. See, without me as a buffer, mediator, or problem solver, my parents were suddenly forced to handle her issues head-on. And wow, she had a lot of issues that had been building up like a ticking time bomb. She was placed on academic probation after failing 2 classes that semester. She was really lost without me to instruct her, aid with assignments, and essentially do half of her coursework. She had never truly learned how to study, conduct research, or handle her academic obligations because she had been depending on my assistance for so long. Dad had to pay $75 per hour for a private instructor. However, Chloe continued to miss classes since she didn't like the way they were taught. Then she was arrested once more, this time for stealing from a high-end Scottsdale store. She had apparently been stealing clothing, accessories, and makeup for months. The retailer filed charges after she was caught attempting to steal a $300 purse. Dad was forced to spend thousands of dollars in court expenses, restitution, and legal fees in addition to hiring an attorney. The worst part was that she had been stealing because she felt entitled to everything and enjoyed the rush, not because she couldn't afford it. The most heartbreaking finding, however, was that she had been routinely robbing her parents for years. Without me, there was no one to help balance the books, cover up missing funds, or provide an explanation for mysterious expenses. They found that she had been stealing money from her mother's purse, making illegal purchases with her father's credit cards, and even falsifying check signatures. Over $35,000 in unapproved spending over 2 years was the startling total. Funds that I could have used to cover my education costs. The money that would have allowed them to retire. They intensified their efforts to support her actions rather than finally holding her responsible. To cover her legal bills and other expenses, Dad took out a second mortgage on the house. To pay for the additional costs, Mom began working 7 days a week. Through mutual friends, social media, and a local gossip network, I observed all of this. Every picture of my parents showed signs of tension and exhaustion. Publicly, their idyllic family image was crumbling. They kept attempting to call me. Naturally, I left dozens of more pleading voicemails asking me to come home and speak with the family so that I could be the responsible one and help them get through this trying time. But take note of what was always absent from each communication. I'm not sorry for calling off my birthday. No recognition of their unfair treatment of me. Just guilt trips about how their lives were becoming more difficult because of my absence. "We need you here, son, please. Your sister is really struggling without you to help her," would be the voicemails left by Dad. I remained tough and ignored all of their attempts to get in touch, even though your mom and I are ill-equipped to deal with all of these issues alone. I was working 25 hours a week, training with the wrestling team, keeping up my 3.9 GPA, and forming sincere friendships with people who appreciated me. I was prospering in my new setting. At last, I was living for myself rather than always tidying up the mess left by others. My original family's circumstances had deteriorated to the point of complete disaster by the time I graduated high school with honors and a full scholarship to Arizona State. After being expelled for academic dishonesty, Chloe completely left college. She had been detected paying others to take her online tests, having other students write her papers, and even turning in assignments that she had stolen from past pupils. Her attempt to bribe a professor to alter her grade was the last straw. Dad spent $15,000 to a dubious online program that claimed she could earn a degree in business administration in 6 months because he was so desperate to salvage her future. It was obviously a total swindle, leaving them with nothing but additional debt and a useless certificate. Mom was too preoccupied, anxious, and emotionally spent to concentrate on clients, which was seriously hurting her real estate profession. When I was there to assist her stay organized, she would never have missed appointments, forgotten deadlines, or made little mistakes that cost her multiple big sales. In the cutthroat Phoenix real estate market, her reputation was in ruins. Even Dad's building business was having trouble. He had made a number of expensive errors on project bids and material calculations without my assistance with documentation, organization, and fundamental company administration. In order to finance Chloe's numerous crises, he had also taken out large loans against the company. Their stature in the neighborhood and social repute, however, was the true kicker. You see, people had begun to notice things in our tight-knit suburban community. Chloe's legal issues were reported by the local police and appeared in the newsletter for the town. As they sold Dad's yacht, then Mom's fancy automobile, and subsequently began to miss social occasions they could no longer afford, the financial strain was becoming apparent. The worst part was that people were talking about why I had left home. My friends' parents, my previous instructors, and my wrestling teammates were all inquiring. The public's reaction to the revelation that my 18th birthday had been postponed due to Chloe's vacation turmoil was fast and severe. Even though Phoenix is a large metropolis, our suburban neighborhood is small enough that social standing and reputation are important. At neighborhood gatherings and school events, other parents began to steer clear of mine. People stopped doing business with Dad because they didn't want to be around a father who would treat his responsible, successful son so badly. Mom lost customers who wanted to deal with real estate brokers who showed sound judgment and a strong commitment to family values. Her family's dysfunction turned into a professional liability in a company that is based on relationships and trust. The disparity was glaring and widely known. As my biological family was falling apart in a spectacular way, I was excelling in my final year, winning wrestling matches, receiving recognition for my academic accomplishments, and being praised by my teachers and coaches' family. Being the prosperous family with the ideal children had become their whole identity. When Chloe's issues were more widely known and I was no longer there to uphold that image, that meticulously crafted identity fell apart. I started receiving calls and messages several times a day. Voicemails detailing how terribly things were going down were more detailed, frantic, and lengthy. "Please, son, we need you here, even if we know we made mistakes. Your mom can't sleep and is crying every night. The company is having trouble, and I'm not sure how to keep everything organized the way you did. We're not sure what to say to the neighbors who are constantly inquiring about you." However, I remained steadfast in my choice and ignored all of their outreach attempts. I was having the time of my life. I received a full scholarship to Arizona State University, graduated with a 4.4 GPA, was promoted to shift supervisor at the gym, kept up a good connection with my fiancée Sarah, and formed sincere friendships with individuals who appreciated and respected me. About 18 months after I moved out, at the start of my sophomore year at college, Chloe experienced her most significant crisis to date. And this time, it ruined what was left of my parents' social standing and financial security. She had become connected with a man who had persuaded her that investing in cryptocurrencies would allow her to earn quick cash. This was not a good investment. This was a clear-cut pyramid scheme that guaranteed 500% returns in 6 months using fictitious currencies. Chloe moved $45,000 from my parents' savings account into this scheme by using her access to family funds. This included the majority of their retirement funds, their entire emergency fund, and the funds they had intended to use to settle the second mortgage. My parents lost all they had saved for decades when the investment, along with the con artists who had made it, vanished as expected. However, that wasn't the worst aspect of Chloe's financial collapse. She had also been steadily accruing debt in my parents' names for the past year. They used their information to obtain personal loans, credit cards they were unaware of, and even a car loan for a car she had crashed while driving under the influence. She had developed advanced financial manipulation skills, gaining access to money they had never authorized by utilizing their family information and good credit. They were legally liable for more than $80,000 in debt she had caused by the time they realized the full scope of her scam. Their middle-class lifestyle was totally destroyed by the whole financial harm, which was well over $125,000 when combined with the lost savings. The destruction of finances was quick and thorough. Their credit and professional reputations were destroyed when they were forced to file for bankruptcy. The house where I grew up where they had lived for 15 years and which symbolized their interpretation of the American dream, had to be sold. They had to start over financially in their 50s, lost most of their belongings in the downsizing, and moved into a tiny two-bedroom apartment in a less desirable area of town. The debt load and legal issues caused Dad's construction company to fail. Mom had to accept a position at a large corporate real estate company, where she was paid a small portion of her prior salary and had little respect or autonomy. However, the toll on the individual was far greater than the financial destruction. After experiencing real repercussions for the first time in her 26 years of existence, Chloe completely lost her mind. When others eventually held her accountable for her decisions, she was unable to function, deal with the guilt and shame, or accept the fact that her actions had shattered her family's stability. She returned to live with my parents in their small apartment and became totally reliant on them for everything, including basic life management, financial support, and emotional support. She was incapable of managing fundamental adult obligations, working for more than a few weeks at a job, or being an independent individual. My parents, who are now in their 50s and in dire straits, had to take care of a 26-year-old lady child while living in substandard surroundings and living paycheck to paycheck. Supporting 3 adults on 2 minimum wage wages while navigating bankruptcy processes was an unbearable source of stress. Their marriage was ruined by the pressure. They split up 6 months after 25 years of dating because they couldn't handle the tension, guilt, and animosity that had accumulated due to Chloe's actions and their support of them. In order to supplement his income as a business owner, Dad moved in with his brother and began working construction tasks for his old rivals. In order to pay for rent and other essentials, Mom obtained a second job at a retail establishment, working 60 hours a week. Their reputation in the neighborhood was in ruins, and the ideal family image they had spent decades creating was totally shattered. Once respected individuals now viewed them as warning stories about the perils of supporting harmful behavior in adult offspring. Everything came full circle last month in the most gratifying and illuminating way imaginable. I received a call from an unfamiliar number when I was studying for my business administration program finals at my apartment close to the ASU campus. I answered against my better judgment. Since I had blocked all of their numbers more than a year prior, it was Dad phoning via his brother's phone. "Son," he murmured, and in his voice I heard years of weariness, despair, and sincere desperation. "Don't hang up, please. I am aware that you have every right to despise us and never communicate with us again. However, we must speak. We must appeal for your assistance." Something in his tone, a brokenness I had never heard before, forced me to listen even though I was about to end the conversation. "I've lost everything, and so has your mother. The home, the company, our funds, our union, and our standing in the neighborhood. Now that we live apart, we each work many minimum pay jobs to make ends meet. Additionally, Chloe is totally reliant on us. However, we're no longer able to care for ourselves." He remained silent for a while, and I could hear him trying to gather his thoughts. "We understand why you departed. After 2 years of reflection, we see how badly we treated you. Your 18th birthday was canceled due to an irrelevant reason. Since then, we have been bearing the consequences. We threw you away as if you didn't matter, even though you were the one keeping our family together." His words carried for the first time in my life a sense of self-awareness and sincere regret. His words, "We need help," were honest, and I could hear the price he paid for uttering those words. Not cash. Even if you're a college student, and we know we don't deserve that, we still need advice, direction, and someone who can make appropriate judgments. The only person in this family with their lives together is you. You're doing quite well in college. You've established your own life. You've grown into everything we ought to have encouraged you to be from the start." I gave him time to complete his speech. He taught me how they were proud of my grades, my maturity, and my independence. He also mentioned how they'd been following me on social media and boasting to others about my achievements while feigning to be involved in my life. "People are always asking about you," he remarked. "We have to act as though we still had a relationship with you, but in reality, we ruined it due to our own selfishness and bad decisions. They want to know how our successful kid is doing in college." Then when Mom called, she was sobbing aloud. "I'm very sorry, baby. We've come to the realization that you were the best thing about our family, and we threw it away, even though I know we don't deserve your forgiveness. Without you, we have no idea how to resolve any of this. We have no idea how to assist Chloe in becoming a responsible adult. We have no idea how to start over. The greatest mistake we've ever made was not appreciating you when you were with us." After they concluded their tearful remarks, I took a deep breath and expressed my thoughts to them with the assurance and clarity that come from 2 years of self-reliance and personal development. "You're entirely correct. You are not deserving of pardon. My 18th birthday was postponed due to Chloe's canceled vacation. You gave her everything she wanted and treated me like unpaid help throughout my entire upbringing. You made it possible for her to turn into a financial criminal who ruined your lives. You couldn't stand to hold her responsible for anything, So you did it. Here's the issue, though, I went on, feeling more confident and strong with each sentence. Your family is no longer necessary to me. Without you, I've created something better. I have folks who appreciate me, encourage me, and acknowledge my accomplishments. I have friends who appreciate me, mentors who believe in me, and a future I'm creating for myself. I don't have to solve your problems or be your emotional support system. There was a profound and telling stillness on the other end. But I'm willing to have a relationship with you under very particular terms. I continued, shocking myself with what I said next. First, rather than being a burden to everyone around her, Chloe begins to contribute to society after receiving significant professional assistance. She must get employment, repay her theft, and demonstrate her maturity. Second, both of you openly admit that I was treated unfairly and that my departure was entirely warranted. Third, whatever future connection we have is built on respect for one another, not on your demand that I solve issues you caused. Dad's voice hardly made a sound. Anything you ask of us, we'll do. Fourth, you must realize that I am not your son returning home to save the family, I added. I am a self-sufficient adult who is willing to offer a conditional relationship to those who can demonstrate that they have radically altered their perspectives on personal accountability and family dynamics. Without question or compromise, they accepted all the terms. I've seen them follow through throughout the last month. Chloe's father has forced her to attend extensive therapy and secure her first real work in years, a part-time job at a fast food restaurant. Mom has been drafting a letter of public apology, admitting their errors and my well-founded decision to depart. Both of them are receiving family counseling in order to acquire better connection patterns and deal with their enabling behaviors. Can I ever forgive them completely? Most likely not. The harm was too severe and prolonged. The most fulfilling kind of retaliation, however, has been witnessing them lose what they valued more than me as I established a prosperous, independent life.